Hello, everyone. I'm Jennifer Gonzalez with the Air Education and Training Command Public Affairs team. Today, we're talking about accessing assessments to discover your foundational competencies. Joining me is Mr. Jamal Qaiyym, who is the branch chief of the Foundational Competencies. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm
So
excited
tell me
about this.
really quickly a little bit about those foundational competencies before we get started.
So, foundational competencies are those competencies that are important to all airmen across the Air Force, and that's big A airmen, officer, civilian, and enlisted. And they fall into four different buckets, and those buckets are developing self, developing others, developing ideas, and developing organization. There are 22 competencies, and with two additional ones that we are now studying, digital literacy and fosters inclusion.
Now, these competencies are measurable, and there's actually a tool out there for airmen to better understand how proficient they are in those competencies. Yes?
Yes, and so that is what we are here why we're here today, and that's to guide you through that. How do you access them, and then what are those tools that will help you as an airman start that development?
All right, well, let's get started. I'm excited to see this because it's now living on MyVector, right? This
Yes,
is
it is.
a
Yes,
big
it is.
deal.
It is a very big deal. It is a very big deal. So I'm going to start sharing this. See my screen. You should see my vector up right now.
Yep, it just
And
popped up
so
there.
once you're on my vector, if you go up under the heading of training, education, and development, you will come to a um, a link that will lead you to my vector. And once you select that link, the MyVector tool comes up, and of course, there's some login that is necessary. So it is CAC enabled,
Mm-hmm.
and so once you're in MyVector, first thing you notice is that new Air Force Competencies Foundational Module. So we're very proud of that, being able to showcase to the Air Force foundational competencies. And
Mm-hmm.
over on the left side, as you're looking at the My Vector menu, down at the bottom, you'll see Air Force competencies. Just a simple click, and you wait for the page to come up, and it's welcome Air Force competencies. And something that the force needs to know is that these new features that are in My Vector, you will not be able to access them using Internet Explorer. So make sure that you're using Edge or you're using Chrome.
Mm-hmm.
And so as you can see that there are two options for you to select. You can select resources or you can select my assessments. And so I'm going to select my assessments. So once I click on my assessments, this gives me a list of assessments that are loaded against my particular profile. And so if you go down to uh, your options, you'll see Pathfinder 2020. And so I can retake the self-assessment. So that's what I'm selecting to do here. And it gives you some directions on how to do the self-assessment. And so I will select self-assessment. And so I will go here, and the self-assessment will come up and say, rate your level of agreement with each statement. I consistently and effectively adapt a presentation or discussion to appeal to the interests of levels of others. So each one of these items, each one of these are related directly to a competency. So
Can
we're
you
looking
save
at the
and come
behavior.
back? So if you start it and then you get pulled away, can you save your work and
Yes.
come back to
It,
it?
yes, it will keep track of where you are.
Great.
So I'm just going to go through here, and I'm going to just put some selections, and you can only select one. So don't try to select more than one. And so I'll just go down, and we'll just go through and just put some information in, and it'll show you where you are. You also can keep track of the questions that you're on. There are a total of 66 questions for the 22. So that's 3 questions per competency.
And what's great is a lot of people have already, we talked about this on the podcast the other day. A lot of people have already taken this assessment.
Yes. So that is outstanding because it also helps to establish those norms, how we compare ourselves when we take our self-assessment. So there's been over 3,000 people that have taken the self-assessment across enlisted, officer and civilian.
Civilian.
Yes, even civilians. Which is because it is a development tool for all airmen, capital A. And so once I've completed answering the questions, I will submit it. And it says, congratulations, a little dialogue box there. And there you have it. It comes up.
Wow.
Instant. So it's instant feedback. It's instant feedback. And then again, you get to see how you stack against peers and stack against high performing peers. And
wonderful.
So once you've done that, you can look at your improvement plan, or you can continue. And if you continue, now we start to see those other options. So I can opt in for supervisor feedback, optional, which puts it in my control. So I can select my supervisor. If my supervisor is not listed, then I can select another person. And that person will have to be right. That person will have to be in the gal.
Okay, perfect. So you just put their email address there?
Exactly. You just put the email address in, and then you request, once you put the email address in, and I'll put one in.
Oh, Dr. Barron.
Right.
She was also on our podcast.
Exactly. Or I can select to do the 360. And now this is the beauty of the 360. In order to protect the anonymity of the individual that's providing the feedback, and to try to solicit the most honest feedback, you have to select at least 3 people. So
that's only if you opt in, of course. So
exactly.
If I take my assessment and I'm just awful in all categories, I can I can take all of the training and then retake the assessments.
Well, so if you decide that you don't want to do the assessment yet, then you can go to the resources.
Oh, you still.
So what you can do is that if you look at the competencies and you see that there's an area that you really want to improve in, you can select the competency, let's say for instance, accountability, and filter all those resources that are related to accountability. And you can also see that some of these resources have been rated. So
we've got some aggressive airmen out there, who are taking charge of their own development. That's wonderful.
And so if you are an aggressive learner, and if you want to do more than the competencies that are identified on the self-assessment, you can go directly to the resources, and you can filter out whatever type of resource that you're looking for. And so that is very helpful to that airman that is, well, look, I want to do more. I really want to develop myself. I want to get after these things. And that's about the size of it for MyVector.
Well, it seems like a wonderful development tool, as you mentioned, that can really help get airmen on the right path early on, whether they're enlisted, officers, or civilian. Total Force Big A Airmen, as you said in that podcast we recorded.
Okay. Yes, and so this is an opportunity for us to be able to. Yeah, let me stop sharing. Okay. I think I stopped sharing. So this is an opportunity for us to get after development, to get those aggressive learners, to get after development, have those conversations, because by doing a self-assessment, I can have those pointed conversations, those detailed conversations, be able to talk about, well, I'm weak in this area, and how can we as a team, that's the individual and a supervisor, an individual and a mentor, an individual and a coach, how can we get after these improvement opportunities? That is MyVector, and
Well,
that is the tool that is going, I believe, that's going to change the Air Force.
most definitely. And we thank you so much for all of your hard work. And as I mentioned, we do have a podcast with Q and Dr. Barron on the foundational competencies, which goes into depth about all of the competencies and what they will do for our Air Force as well as for our airmen. And you can find that on aetc.af.mil, or you can find that on iTunes as well as Google Play. Thank you all so much for watching, and we hope you found this very helpful.
Thank you.